Well, there you have it. Ron DeSantis running for president. Now, the beauty of that is if you watch I'm Right, you've known this for a year. Back when all your friends in politics were saying, I don't think he's running, Jesse, he's not going to run. And when they were saying, he's going to be Trump's VP. You, because you watch I'm Right, you already knew he was running because I told you he was running in no uncertain terms. When I have a theory about something or I think something, I tell you. When I know something, I tell you I know it. I told you he was running. Of course he's running. Running for president, wants to be the big cheese. He's an ambitious, accomplished governor, thinks he has what it takes to be president, thinks he has what it takes to beat Donald Trump, and that's why he's doing what he's doing. Now, why? What's with the timing? Why did he wait? Why now? Why not wait longer? Okay, well, let's just analyze this thing. I'll give you my personal opinion here in a second. Let's analyze this thing. This is never going to be a Trump DeSantis show. I don't do that. We have bigger fish to fry, bigger issues, bigger things at stake than the Republican primary of 2024. But we will talk about it and analyze it whenever things come up. Why did he wait up until now? Well, he had just run for governor. Florida had a resign to run law, so he wasn't allowed to still be governor and run for president. He wanted to remain governor for a time. Why? Well, he wanted to sign, honestly, the greatest legislative session I've seen out of a state in my entire 41 years on this planet. There's no other way around. Doesn't matter which camp you're in. Trump, DeSantis, and all these other things today. You want to go down the list of what they just signed into law, of why Florida has become Free State USA? They banned gender identity education through 8th grade. They banned transgender procedures and puberty blockers for minors. No more drag shows for kids. Taxpayer money can no longer fund DEI, that diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff at universities, so attacking the universities. Bail laws hardened. No more letting violent criminals out of jail. There are now bigger punishments for illegal immigration, specifically businesses who hire illegal immigrants. Constitutional carry. It's just on and on we go. A heartbeat abortion bill, 6 weeks, no more abortions in Florida. They banned vaccine mandates and gain-of-function research. They had an incredible legislative session thanks to an awesome legislature and Ron DeSantis himself, who deserves all the credit in the world. And it really doesn't matter whether you're on Trump or DeSantis' team. If you live in Florida, your life is not only better now, it will be better going forward because of what they did. They wanted to wait and sign this big legislative session into law. As soon as he signed that legislation into law, including legislation that said he can now be a candidate for president while remaining governor, because they changed the law for him, now he's off to the races. Now it's time to get it on. Now it's time for fundraising. Now it's time for GOTV efforts. Now it's time to organize on the ground. Now let's pause here before we go on here for a moment. Let's talk about the things you and I see and the things that matter, because oftentimes they're different. When we talk about presidential races, you probably already have a pick. Either you're a Trump guy or a DeSantis guy or a Trump girl or DeSantis girl. You probably already are. So what do we see? You'll see I'm Right every night. We'll play it whenever something interesting happens. Like I said, this is not going to be an all-the-time thing on the show. It bores me. But we'll play when something big happens. You will see the debates. Obviously, you're going to watch the debates. I'm going to watch the debates. It's going to be something we're all going to sit and watch. Let's go watch them beat each other up on national TV. Those are the things we'll see. Maybe we'll see them sparring back and forth on social media. Trump sucks. DeSantis is an idiot rhino. We'll see that. But beyond that, we don't see the other stuff that really, really actually matters more, to be honest with you. Let's pause on this for a moment. Remember, I ran for Congress and lost twice in Arizona. So that's a teeny tiny thing. But it's something. It was running for the U.S. House of Representatives. And I remember taking a step back at one point in time and thinking, man, this is a lot. Meaning operationally, it's a lot. I had to have an office down here in this location, but that location was too far away from another important part of my district, so I had to open up a separate office there. So I have multiple offices. I have people I need to hire and recruit volunteers for phone banking. I have this separate group of volunteers I have to hire to get out and vote and knock on doors and try to get it. I also have a separate group of people, and they need to organize fundraising efforts. We need to have fundraising parties. We have to line up dinners with rich guys. That's a long way of saying For a congressional race, there was a lot. It's not like you're running that with a staff of one or two. There's a lot involved, a lot of moving pieces. Now magnify that times a million. That's a presidential race, and that's the stuff that actually wins. It's stuff that you won't ever actually see, stuff that I won't ever actually see. And when I get inside baseball on it, because I know people in both camps, I will tell you, but now, when it comes to Trump, when it comes to DeSantis, now, it's blocking and tackling time. How are your precincts coming along? Because different areas are broken up in precincts. Do you have a guy in this precinct? Do you have a lady in that precinct? Are you organizing? How's your GOTV effort? What are you doing for fundraising? How's your fundraising? Money matters. It matters a lot in politics. It matters a lot in politics. Where are you spending your money? Are you overspending on consultants? This is all nitty-gritty stuff that you can get way down in the weeds on, but it's the stuff that really matters. Now we have two big boy candidates in the race, and now it's on. That's the bottom line. Now it's on. As for me, everyone knows what will decide my vote. I've been honest with you about that. I like Trump, who's a great president for 3 years. I like DeSantis, who's been an outstanding governor. I have told you the two things that will determine my vote. One, how you talk about COVID, and this is my biggest thing. How you talk about COVID lockdowns, how you talk about the vaccine and things like that. I'm not saying that has to be your list. For me, COVID lockdowns are the greatest crime ever perpetrated against the American people. And no, not day 30, day 1. You don't ever point at your freaking economy and tell it to stop moving for a virus. It's still the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. It makes my blood pressure go through the roof. Now, both guys were lockdown guys. Donald Trump up there hands the country to Fauci, 15 days to slow the spread. Ron DeSantis locked down Florida. The reason I'm leaning towards voting Ron DeSantis hard right now, and will vote for Ron DeSantis right now unless this changes, is because I got this out of Ron DeSantis.
What could you do, earlier? I mean, I think when COVID was first coming, we were actually engaged in it. I was telling Trump, stop the flights from China, because we didn't know what we were dealing with. But I never thought in February, early March, that it would lead to locking down the country. I just didn't. I didn't think that was on the radar. I was dealing with, I had Pence and the CDC director down at Port Everglades talking about cruise ships the second week of March, and no one was talking about shutting down the country. And I think knowing now what I know then, if that was a threat earlier, I would have been much louder.
Some ownership. He's also on camera basically crying about the fact that people couldn't see relatives and things like that. Perfect? No. I would have preferred there were never any lockdowns ever. But some ownership. The reason I'm leaning that way instead of voting for Trump, and I'm not telling you how to vote, I'm telling you how I'm planning on voting as of now, is there's been not even that much ownership out of Trump. None. In fact, he's still, to this day, bragging about it. He just said recently in a speech he did it perfectly. He defended not firing Fauci. He said the left would have been mad at him. He said that Operation Warp Speed, which is one of the most devastating pieces of legislation in U.S. history, he's still saying it saved millions of lives. That's not good enough for me. And maybe that doesn't matter to you. Maybe you have a different list of priorities. It's not good enough for me. It will never be good enough for me. I am going to get some ownership, or I'm not voting that way. That's just the bottom line. But that's personally. Let's set that aside. Donald Trump's running on an outstanding platform. And it will be interesting to see what the differences are in the two guys and their platforms, because I know everyone in Team Trump says he's so much better and different, and everyone on Team DeSantis says he's so much better and different. But when it comes to the issues, personally, one of them may be better, one of them may be different. But when it comes to the issues, they're just not that far apart. Trump's running on a platform that I like. Secure the border. Stop that horrific war in Ukraine where has young men thrown into the daggone meat grinder. Ending concealed carry, so people who have concealed carry, they can carry everywhere. Wants to remove DEI from all universities, crack down on transgender surgery, so on and so on and so forth. Donald Trump has an outstanding platform, and there's a million reasons to vote for him. How will voters vote in this primary? I don't know the answer to that. You don't know the answer to that. We can all guess right now. I don't know. I suspect right now Donald Trump is the most comfortable, most popular Republican in the country, that if the primary votes were held today that he would win, but they are not held today. They're held a long time from now. And remember, there's not a primary day in the Republican presidential primary. There are different states. Iowa's first, and you're moving on to this state and that state. This different states vote at different times, and each candidate will have to have a separate campaign organization within each state. You see what I mean? I don't know. You don't know. I don't know where all this is going to go. And there's another thing none of us know. We don't know what's going to happen to Trump criminally. And how does that change the primary? We don't know. You know my thoughts on it. I mean, Julie Kelly's been the one covering all this stuff. Remember what Julie Kelly said? They wouldn't actually put Donald Trump in prison, right? A former president. You don't think they'll go that far, right?
I absolutely do.
Does that happen? Does that happen during the campaign? If that happens, how does that change things? I don't know. I do know this. Because of what's happening with Trump legally in New York and what's happening with Trump legally in D.C. and what's happening with Trump probably in Georgia, from what I understand, this is going to be unlike any primary campaign we've ever seen. I mean, what do you do? What do you do if it's debate night and Trump can't come because he's being arraigned that day? What do you do? You've never had to experience anything like this. I've never had to experience anything like this. Here's what you're going to get here on I'm Right. We're going to analyze it as best we can, the best we can do. And we're going to take this primary campaign as it comes along. And I'll tell you honestly what I like, what I don't like from both candidates. Look, if you're on a team, that's fine. Wave that flag, campaign for your guy. I will just leave you with this before we move on, because we're going to talk to John Phillips about all this. Remember, Donald Trump's voters and Ron DeSantis' voters. I know you don't want to believe this today because emotions are high. They're the same people. They're the same people. Prioritize this a little different, prioritize that a little different. So if you're on Team Trump and you want to pour venom on Ron DeSantis, pour all the venom on the world on Ron DeSantis. Let him have it. Rhino Ron, or whatever the case is. And if you're on Team DeSantis and you don't like Donald Trump, pour all the venom in the world on Donald Trump. Lock down Don and everything. Go for it. Save the animosity for the candidates themselves, not the candidates' voters. The candidates' voters are your people, and once this primary is done, whoever wins, they will still be your people, and we will come together again as anti-communists, all right? You like what you just saw? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. The First TV has a YouTube channel. It's outstanding. Go hit that subscribe button now.